This is CBC Saturday News.
More than 100 people gathered outside Queen's Park today in a show of support for public services. 2 days ago, Ontario's new government gave its first throne speech there. Doug Ford's government says it's dedicated to balancing the books and will cut public spending to help make that happen. The CBC's Lorenda Redekop was at the rally.
Around 150 people came out here to the grounds of the Ontario Legislature to protest against the various changes that the new Ontario government under Premier Doug Ford has brought in. They only came to power a couple weeks ago. We heard from a number of speakers. I'm going to play you some tape from a few of them, starting with a student upset that planned changes to talk more about Indigenous issues in schools were cancelled under this government. Take a listen.
We must find our own ways to fight against these injustices. My educators, it is time to fight for what is right. You must teach the curriculum you want to reflect the future.
Another issue for people when it comes to education is the planned changes to the sex ed curriculum. The Doug Ford government plans to revert back to the old curriculum that was developed back in 1998, before things like sexting, consent, and same-sex relationships were talked about. So people are upset about that. Another issue is to do with environmental issues and things like getting out of cap and trade.
People united will never be defeated.
If it's attacking asylum seekers, we are all there. Their fight is our fight. If it's LGBTQ children, their fight is our fight. We have their back.
People here, they know they're dealing with a majority government, so what they're saying may not in the end make a difference, but what a speaker encouraged people here to do is to do things like volunteering for a local organization or for their local politician so that they can make their voices heard. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
The people united will never be defeated.
The Premier and his government still have their critics. This rally was held outside Queen's Park today in response to new policies put forward by the Progressive Conservatives. Organizers say it's about supporting marginalized people and public services.
I think people just want to come together and sort of make sure that they're heard and make sure that it's understood that democracy doesn't just end on election day.
Demonstrators also spoke out about environmental issues and the Ford government's plan to scrap the current sex ed curriculum.
You're watching Global Toronto. This is Global News at 11.
Over to provincial politics now, and rising frustration with the newly installed Ford administration at Queen's Park. Just days after laying out his government's plan for Ontario's future, his policies are now coming under fire. Today, hundreds came to Queen's Park for a rally denouncing the throne speech as well as changes to education.
I think that there are people who could be marginalized and badly hurt by some of the changes in policy that have been proposed.
Andrea Budgie says it's critical that Ontario focus on human rights and social justice. She fears that the current administration is heading in the wrong direction and it could harm many, including Indigenous people as well as the LGBTQ community. For teachers and students, today was also a chance to push back against education changes, particularly the reversal of the sex education curriculum and the removal of Indigenous education as part of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
I'm most concerned about the future of our country and the young people. If we have leaders who are willing to just scrap education to the side, then who knows what might happen next.
Many teachers have said they will continue to teach the updated sex ed curriculum regardless of the government's ruling, but they fear that there will not be the support from the administrators should parents complain. New Education Minister Lisa Thompson says the ministry is aiming to launch consultations for a new curriculum that could be introduced in the 2019-2020 school year.